Ian Curtis, A Mind Without Control. Today's video is a bit different, but it's one I've wanted to do for ages. Today I'm going to be talking about the life and career of Ian Curtis. Ian Curtis was a legendary, controversial musician with the talent for lyricism and a passion for performance. Before Ian Curtis found success as the lead singer of Joy Division, Ian went to King's School in Manchester. During his time at school, the 15-year-old volunteered at an old people's home for a programme at his school. Although this may seem altruistic, his main agenda was to steal prescription drugs from the rooms of the patients. It was around this period of rebellion that the misfit developed passion for music and poetry. His favourite artist at the time was David Bowie. Curtis could seldom afford records, so he opted to steal them instead. It was in this very same year that Ian met his future wife, Deborah. After passing his O-levels with flying colours, the adolescent became disenchanted with his A-levels and instead was determined to find employment. After meandering between various civil service jobs, he came to rest as Assistant Disablement Resettlement Officer. This entailed helping find jobs for people with disabilities. Meanwhile, a band was forming that went by the name Warsaw. The band was made up of guitarist, keyboardist and synth player Bernard Sumner, bassist Peter Hook, drummer Terry Mason and a myriad of singers, none of whom satisfied the instrumentalists. The three musicians were all friends from Ian's childhood. By pure coincidence, Warsaw and Curtis attended a Sex Pistols gig in Manchester, 1976. On what seemed like a whim, Ian agreed to sing with the band. Warsaw started making music together and playing small venues in Manchester. The band then swapped the drummer for a musician called Stephen Morris. During this era of minor success, the band met with charismatic, effervescent manager Rob Gretton. Rob's reign cited the name change. Warsaw became Joy Division. Joy Division was originally the name of a brothel used by Nazis in a concentration camp. The band chose this as their title. At this time, Ian was married to Deborah and was allegedly very controlling, minimising any chance Deborah had of coming into contact with other men. He was also still working as a Disablement Resettlement Officer. Shortly before he quit his job to pursue his music, he witnessed one of his clients endure a fit, which ultimately killed her. This experience inspired the lyrics of She's Lost Control. Joy Division were enjoying large European success. During a gig in Brussels, Ian met journalist Annick Honor. During her interview with the band, she asked, "Who are your biggest musical influences? Do you like the Buzzcocks?" To which Peter Hook famously responded, "Yeah, except for the Cox part." Following this interview in 1978, Annick and Ian developed a strong relationship, despite Ian's wife Deborah. The pair purportedly had a platonic yet intimate relationship. Ian was racked with guilt for his wife, but continued his affair. To add fuel to the fire, in April 1979, Deborah Curtis gave birth to Ian's daughter Natalie. Before Natalie turned 1, Deborah and Ian's relationship became fiery, as Deborah learned of Annick and her involvement with her husband. Meanwhile, Ian and Joy Division were performing and were gathering a following. Their music was way ahead of their time and was revolutionary for the decade. The band continued to master their albums and publish them, as well as playing live. However, Ian wasn't mentally sound. Ian was ill. One day, Joy Division were playing at a venue in Manchester when Ian collapsed on stage. It was now that Ian was diagnosed with crippling epilepsy, undoubtedly caused by his past drug use and stressful personal life. Doctors told Ian that his epilepsy was so severe it would ruin his life. Ian's epilepsy did not improve, having seizures almost every performance. It has been said that after Ian was carried off stage, he would just burst into tears backstage. Ian's medication did not work. His wife Deborah purportedly still loved Ian, but left him, even in his condition. In 1980, he moved in with Annick. Their relationship was icy at best due to the pressure Ian's past marriage still held. In the studio, however, the music didn't cease to improve. Manager Rob Gretton decided to take the band to North America. This shook Ian to his core, as he was rendered catatonic by his concern about how audience would react across the pond. Ian simply could not cope. His life was spiralling out of control, and Ian couldn't stop it. His life was the deep end, and Ian couldn't swim. 18th of May, 1980, Ian Curtis hung himself in his home, leaving behind a legacy of art, a following of grieving fans, and most importantly, a child that will never know her father. Ian found his peace the day Joy Division was set to commence their US tour. Without their effervescent, haunted frontman, Joy Division could not continue as they were.